G'day, Phil Badura here from ActionCOACH Business Steps. Let me ask you a serious question. Is your business actually growing, or is it becoming more dependent on you? Because there's a big difference. A lot of business owners think that they're scaling because sales are going up, the team's getting bigger, and the workload is increasing. But behind the scenes, what's really happening is this. Every important decision still ends up on the owner's desk. Every problem still comes back to the founder. Every delay needs the owner to step in. And every customer issue still needs to be calmed down by the owner. Every team member is still looking up for approval. That's not scale. That's pressure with a bigger payroll. And if that's where you're at right now, you're not alone. I see this all the time with our small and medium business owners. They started the business with drive, courage, grit and good intentions. They built it through hard work. They carried the risk. They solved the problems. They made the calls, and for a season that works. But the very strengths that got the business off the ground can become the thing that holds it back, because once the business grows, the founder cannot remain the centre of every decision and expect the business to become a true commercial asset. If your business cannot work without you, then what you've really built is a job with overheads. And that matters for one major reason. Real business success is not just about income whilst you're in the business. It's about building a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. That is where freedom lives. That is where scale lives. And that is where the real ROI, or return on investment, lives when the day comes to exit. Because buyers do not pay top dollar for your exhaustion. They pay for systems. They pay for capability. They pay for predictable results. And they pay for a business that can continue performing when you are not in the room. So today I want to go deep into how you build a self-managing business. Not a lazy business, not a neglected business, a disciplined business, a well-led business, a business with structure, accountability, clarity, and commercial value. Here's the truth. Most businesses don't stall because the owner lacks effort. They stall because the owner becomes the decision-making bottleneck. The founder is approving too much. Say that again. The founder is approving too much. Checking too much. They're fixing too much. Holding too much knowledge. Making too many exceptions. And rescuing too many people. So the business grows wider but not deeper. And when that happens, a few things begin to show up. First, the team stops thinking, not because they're not capable, but because they've been trained to wait. Second, speed drops. Every issue takes longer because it has to pass through one person. Third, quality becomes inconsistent, not because people don't care, but because there are no clear systems for how good work should look. Fourth is stress rises. The owner becomes overloaded, frustrated, reactive, and unavailable for the work that truly matters. And fifth, the value of the business stays lower than it should be, because the business is still too attached to the founder. A real business builder understands this. The goal is not to be needed for everything. The goal is to build a business where the right things happen consistently, even when you're not present. That's leadership. Leadership is not being the hero in every situation. Leadership is creating the structure where heroes are no longer needed. Now, let's talk about something many owners avoid until it's too late. That is their exit strategy. Whether you plan to sell in 3 years, 10 years, or never officially exit at all, you still need to build as though the business must stand on its own. Why? Because exit value is not built at the moment you want to leave. Exit value is built in the years before that. A buyer will look at questions like these. Can this business generate profit consistently? Are the margins healthy? Is there a capable leadership team in place? Are the systems documented? Are customers loyal to the business or only loyal to the founder? Are the numbers clean? And can operations continue without the owner making every major call? If the answer to those questions is no, then the buyer sees risk, and risk lowers the value of the business. This is why I talk so often about building a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. Because that's not just a nice phrase. It's a standard, it's a target, it's the model. Commercial means the business has a value beyond your personal labour. Profitable means it creates strong, sustainable financial returns. Enterprise means it has structure, systems, leadership, and transferability. Works without you means the machine keeps moving because the business is not trapped inside the owner's head. That is what creates a real ROI for the time, energy, and money that you've invested into building the business as you've gone along. Not just money while you're grinding, not just turnover, not just being busy. Real return on the years, stress, risk, and energy that you've invested. Let me give you 7 signs that your business is still too dependent on you. Number 1, the team keeps asking you for decisions they should be making. Number 2, important knowledge lives in your head, not in systems. Number 3, customers still ask for you by name because trust has not been transferred into the brand, the process, or the team. Bottleneck number 4 is when you take a break, performance drops. Number 5, problems keep repeating because there's no system correction, only people correction. And number 6, you are still approving low-value tasks that should sit with someone else. Number 7, you spend more time reacting than leading. If 2 or 3 of these are happening, the business is too founder dependent. If most of them are happening, you do not have a scale problem, you have a structure problem. And structure problems are solved through leadership, systems, people development, and discipline. At some point, every serious business owner has to make one major shift. You must move from being the best operator in the business to becoming the architect of the business. That means your role changes. Early on, you may have been the best technician, salesperson, tradie, manager, or doer. But as the business grows, your value is no longer in doing more. Your value is in designing business so others can do it well. That means you need to focus on clear roles, decision rights, the management rhythm, scoreboards, process documentation, leadership development, financial visibility, and accountability. This is where a lot of founders get uncomfortable, because building a self-managing business requires letting go of ego. It requires patience. It requires training people instead of rescuing them. It requires tolerating short-term imperfection while capability grows. But that is the price of scale. You cannot build a business that grows without you if you refuse to release control in a structured way. And I want to be clear here, delegating is not dumping. Real delegation means this is the outcome, this is the standard, this is the time frame, this is the authority that you have, this is when we review, and this is the score we will use to measure success. That is how self-managing businesses are built. Now let's get practical. If you want to scale beyond the founder, where should your focus, attention, and energy actually go? Your focus must move into the parts of the business that create independence. That includes leadership depth, role clarity, process consistency, reporting rhythm, financial performance, customer experience, and decision-making frameworks. You do not need to focus on every tiny issue. You need to focus on building the machine that prevents tiny issues from becoming daily chaos. Your attention must be on the numbers and behaviours that tell you whether the business is becoming healthier. This means things like watching things like lead flow, conversion rate, average sale, gross margin, labour efficiency, rework, debtor days, customer retention and delivery times, team accountability, and then manager follow through. Because what gets measured gets managed. Too many owners give attention to noise and emotion instead of data and patterns. If you only notice problems when they become painful, you're already late. Energy. Your energy should go into the highest value work only. That includes coaching your leaders, improving systems, reviewing performance, removing genuine roadblocks, strengthening culture, making strategic decisions, and building future capacity. Your energy should not be drained by answering questions that a manager should handle, redoing work because expectations are unclear, mediating avoidable confusion, firefighting preventable problems, or sitting inside every decision. This is one of the biggest mindset shifts in business. Busy does not mean valuable. Needed does not mean scalable. Exhausted does not mean effective. A great founder learns to put their best energy into the few things that create long-term freedom and commercial strength. Let me bring this to life with a few examples from the kinds of clients that I've worked with. I worked with a business owner in a trades-based business who was still quoting, approving, troubleshooting and resolving team issues every single day. The team were good people, but they had been conditioned to escalate everything, so the owner felt trapped. We started by mapping the recurring decisions that kept flowing back to him. Then we separated them into 3 categories: decisions only the owner could make, decisions managers should make, and decisions frontline team members should make with clear rules. From there we built quote parameters, job profitability rules, escalation guidelines, daily huddles, and a weekly management review. We didn't just say delegate more, we built the structure that made delegation safe. Over time, the business owner stopped being the centre of every operational decision. Not overnight, but steadily. And that changed everything. Stress reduced, response times improved, team capability lifted, and the owner finally had room to work on growth, not just survival. I've also worked with manufacturing and service-based businesses where the owner was the only one who really understood the numbers. If margins slipped, only they knew. If labour blew out, only they could spot it. If a customer was becoming unprofitable, no one saw it until the damage was already done. So we built simple scorecards. Not complicated, just visible. Useful, consistent. We got managers reviewing the right KPIs weekly. We connected those numbers to behaviour, and we made the numbers part of leadership, not just bookkeeping. And when that happens, a business gets stronger very quickly because the owner is no longer the only adult in the room when it comes to performance. Another example is a founder-led business where the team were loyal, but everything still revolved around the owner's personality. Customers loved the owner, but that was also the risk. If the owner disappeared, the business would wobble. So we focused on transferring trust. We tightened the service standards. We documented how communication should happen. We trained leaders to run better conversations. We built consistency into the client experience. And we made the brand stronger than the founder alone. This is a crucial shift because if customers only trust you, you've built dependence. If customers trust the business, the process and the team, you've built an asset. If you're serious about scaling beyond the founder, that's where I'd start over the next 90 days. Or here's where I'd start over the next 90 days. First, identify the top 10 decisions that still come back to you every week. Second, decide which of those only you should retain. Third, create decision rules and boundaries for the rest. Fourth, document the core processes that drive delivery, communication and quality. Fifth, establish a weekly management meeting with scoreboards. Sixth, build role clarity so every leader knows what they own. Seventh, review your KPIs weekly and teach your team how to read them. Eighth, stop rescuing people when a system fix is required. And ninth is coach your managers harder than you coach your staff. And 10th, ask yourself one question every Friday. What did I do this week that someone else should have owned? That one question alone can change your business. If you want a business that gives you more freedom, more profit, more control, and real value when the time comes to exit, then you cannot stay stuck as the centre of every decision. You have to build beyond yourself. You have to build leaders. You have to build systems. You have to build accountability. You have to build a business that performs because the structure is strong, not because the founder is exhausted. That is how you move from chaos to control. That is how you create scale with less stress. And that is how you build a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. If that's the kind of business you want to build, let's have a conversation. Book a meeting with me, Phil Badura from ActionCOACH Business Steps, and let's identify where your business is still too dependent on you, where the bottlenecks are, and what needs to change so that you can scale with confidence. Because the goal is not just to own a business, the goal is to build one that works.